Today, let's peel back the layers on a coin that most people treat like pocket lint, but that, in certain hands, becomes a treasure. The 1962 Lincoln penny. On its face, it's just another copper disc. Yet beneath its familiar patina lies a story of minting mischief. Eager hunters in dusty garages, and auction blocks ringing with five-figure gavel strikes. If you've been chasing rare cents for decades, or you've just stumbled onto a hoard of old jars in your attic, what you're about to learn will change the way you look at that humble penny. In 1962, the United States Mint was solidly into its Lincoln Memorial design era, replacing the wheat ears reverse that had run from 1909 to 1958. Victor David Brenner's profile of Abraham Lincoln remained on the front, his solemn gaze toward the right, while Frank Gasparo's rendering of the Washington Monument graced the back. That year, Philadelphia struck about 606 million business strike pennies, no mint mark, and Denver cranked out roughly 1.79 billion more, each stamped with that tiny D under the date. If you line them up end to end, they'd circle the equator multiple times. With such staggering numbers, it feels impossible that any example could be rare. But minting is a wild dance between steel, copper, and die, and sometimes that performance hits an unexpected note. Enter the doubled die variety, a minting fluke that didn't come to light until years later. During the hubbing process, when a master hub with the coin's design punches into a die steel block, one of the impressions in Denver got slightly misaligned. Instead of a single crisp image, it received two, offset by a hair's breadth. This error affected the die itself, so every penny struck from it carried that ghostly echo in the letters and numbers. Yet for the average shopper in 1962 dropping cents into the cookie jar, nothing seemed amiss. It took a handful of enthusiasts with magnifying lenses and a penchant for anomalies to recognize that something magical had slipped through quality control. So how do you spot the 1962 doubled die penny? First, grab a loupe or a good quality magnifier. Study the date. 1962 should look like it's been stamped twice, especially on the 1 and the 9. Peer at Liberty on the obverse. Each letter should show subtle doubling, with a thin ghost image hugging the primary letter form. Flip it over and inspect the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. The horizontal lines may double up, and the phrase, e pluribus unum, can exhibit the same mirrored effect. Remember, you're looking for clear, bold doubling, not the fine spiderweb chatter of a worn die. If these features leap out at you, you may be holding one of the most sought-after error cents of its era. Value-wise, a circulated doubled die 1962 D penny might trade for a few dollars among casual collectors. But once you step into uncirculated territory, prices climb steeply. A sharply detailed piece, in about uncirculated condition, can fetch several $100s. In mint state, think crisp rims, full luster, no wear, values often start around $800 to $1,000. Push into the mid-60s grade with vibrant red toning, and you're talking five-figure territory. Top-tier specimens graded MS67 red have auctioned for more than $50,000. Proof that a small minting hiccup can produce headline-grabbing returns. It's the kind of rarity that sends serious collectors into bidding wars, trophy cases gleaming with a single perfect penny. But what really makes this coin's story so juicy are the tales collectors swap at conventions and online forums. One dealer recalls a retiree in Ohio who'd saved whole rolls of 1962 D cents without ever peeking inside, only to discover a stash of 30 doubled dies when he finally cracked them open. A West Coast hobbyist tells of a lonely specimen found in a charity donation jar. Its error overlooked by everyone until a young numismatist recognized the doubling and snapped it up for face value. These anecdotes underscore the thrill of the hunt and the magic of finding something extraordinary in everyday change. Of course, condition matters more than a passing glance. A heavily worn circulated example with brown toning might sell for just a handful of dollars above face. As where fades and original mint luster peeks through, prices can leap into the low hundreds for rolls of high-grade coins. Collectors distinguish between red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown BN surfaces. Full red pieces command the highest premiums, especially when the doubling is razor-sharp. Certification by a reputable grading service adds another layer of assurance and desirability. So many enthusiasts send their best finds off for professional grading to maximize both value and selling potential. For collectors looking to track down one of these rarities, roll hunting remains a classic strategy. Scope out bank boxes, search through circulation, and keep an eye on estate sales and box lots. Join specialized forums where members trade images and slab photos, and learn which grading quirks set the red-hot pieces apart from common strike-throughs or dye deterioration. Proper storage is key, too. Air and moisture-tight flips, acid-free holders, and a stable low-humidity environment will preserve that coppery glow and prevent unsightly corrosion. Handling pennies with bare hands is tempting, but skin oils can stain the surfaces over time. Always handle error coins by the edges, on clean cotton gloves if you can swing them. Avoid cleaning or polishing, no matter how tempting it feels, because that can severely damage both the surface and the value. Instead, let natural toning develop and trust storage to preserve rather than alter. So there you have it. The 1962 D. Lincoln cent, hiding in plain sight until eagle-eyed collectors uncovered its double die secret. From its humble place in everyday commerce to high-stakes auctions, this penny proves that coins aren't just currency. They're time capsules and stories waiting to be told. Keep those magnifiers close and your senses sharp, because very soon we'll jump ahead to 1967, where the Lincoln penny reveals a whole new chapter of surprises. Sliding forward to 1967, you'll find a penny that at first glance looks even more mundane than its predecessor, yet it harbors its own secret twists. An unassuming copper disc that can vault from pocket change to centerpiece of a serious collection. By then, the Lincoln Memorial Reverse had been in place nearly a decade, and the mint had perfected its process, or so it seemed. But tucked among the billions of business strike cents and proof pieces lies a small cadre of survivors whose subtle quirks and minting misfires make them every bit as coveted as the 1962 double dies you just heard about. In 1967, Philadelphia struck roughly 1.6 billion Lincoln cents with no mint mark, while Denver produced about 2.6 billion bearing that tiny D. The mint was amid Vietnam War coin metal hoarding, shuffling planchets between facilities to maximize copper use. Victor David Brenner's familiar portrait faced right, lines crisp from a new master hub, while Frank Gasparo's memorial stood guard on the reverse. The Philadelphia pieces slipped into general circulation first, and by late spring, Denver had already begun its run. Despite the towering mintage, errors slipped through, proof that even refined processes can yield delightful surprises. The most famous variant for this year is the double die obverse, but it's far subtler than the in-your-face echoes on other dates. True double die examples show slight doubling in the dates 6 and 7, and faint echoes along Liberty and I In God We Trust. Beyond that, savvy collectors chase the rare broad strike examples, coins struck outside the retaining collar, so that the rims flare outward slightly, giving the design a sunken-in look. And then there's the elusive off-metal strikes, where planchets from an earlier or experimental run produced odd colorations or flakiness. Each of these quirks turns a common issue cent into a talking point worth hunting. Spotting a genuine double die requires patience and good light. Hold the coin flat between thumb and forefinger, so you're not skewing reflections. Glide a loop slowly across the surface, pausing at the date. If the 6 shows a hairline twin image to its right, and the 7 seems to wear a faint shadow, you may have the real deal. Next, peer at Liberty on the left edge. Each letter should display a whisper of doubling, with a tiny mirrored edge. Don't mistake die deterioration, which prompts fuzzy lines, for hub doubling. You want crisp parallel outlines. Broad strikes, by contrast, catch your eye immediately. The rims look abnormally thin, and you might even see the mint's guide marks around the periphery. Value swings wildly, depending on which variant you hold and its condition. A run-of-the-mill circulated 1967 cent trades for face plus a few cents, nothing more. But a modestly worn double die in about uncirculated can fetch $50 to $100, while a bright, expertly struck broad strike in the same grade might bring $150 to $200. Mint state examples push those figures higher. MS63 doubled dies often cross $300, and once you crack MS65, values climb into the $1,000 to $1,500 range. The rarest off-metal strikes or top-tier broad strikes graded MS66 or above have sold for between $3,000 and $7,000 at specialized error coin auctions. Collectors swap stories about how these pennies turn up in unlikely places. One veteran hobbyist recalls sifting through mint rolls from a small-town bank, only to pull a broad strike so dramatic it looked like a mini saucier. Word whipped through the coin club grapevine, and soon everyone wanted to see that flared rim. Another tale involves a proof set from 1967, one of the last copper proofs before the mint switched to copper zinc clad. A mislabeled set sold at a charity auction for face value, and the lucky buyer discovered a DDO specimen among the proof cents. Such finds remind us that even the neatest packaging can't guarantee perfection. Condition remains king, and collectors break values down by color and surface quality. Brown BN examples, those dark mellow coins with reddish highlights, are the most common in circulation, worth just $1 or $2 in higher grades. Red Brown RB, survivors with partial original luster see premiums in the $10 to $25 range once you reach uncirculated levels. Full red RD pieces, with vivid copper sheen, command the top dollar. A clean MS64 RD doubled die might land around $600, while a flawless MS66 RD broad strike could edge toward $4,000. Proof coins and cameo contrasts layer on extra premiums, as the mirrored fields set against frosted devices create a stunning visual effect. For anyone hunting these 1967 rarities, roll searching and estate lots remain tried-and-true methods. Join specialized social media groups or error coin forums, where members post slab photos and tips on die varieties to watch. When you buy raw, check for uniform color and minimal contact marks. If you're serious, send potential winners to a top grading service for certification. Proper storage, airtight holders, minimal handling, stable humidity will safeguard that glossy red surface or cameo contrast. Keep your reading light and your loop ready, because the 1967 Lincoln cent proves that even when the design stays the same, the story never does. From nearly invisible doubled dies to dramatic broad strikes and off-metal oddities, this penny year offers a playground for collectors who know how to look. As you tuck away that roll or submit your submission for grading, remember that every Hickok-style find starts with a single coin, and soon you might be swapping your own legend at the next convention.